Talkopolis programming is sponsored in part by Dev Digital Innovative Software Solutions, the Center for Advanced Dentistry, now serving the greater Nashville area. Hi guys, welcome to Serious Startups, where we explore the nuts and bolts of successful entrepreneurship. I'm Kane Harrison and I'm joined by Monica Selby and Dave Ledgerwood. John Maddox once again has left us.
Yeah, well.
Pretty typical.
You know, we love the guy.
We're getting
anyway.
used to it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Makes a guest appearance every now and again.
He'll post a comment on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Right.
Today we're going to talk about when to quit, which is pretty important. I think one of the most important topics, I think, more than anything. Mm-hmm. Who wants to kick it off?
Well, I have experience with this. I've had to kill some businesses, and I'm assuming we're talking in the startup context, right? So I know some businesses that I should have quit earlier, and some of the signs to do that would have been, you know, that clearly if I budgeted properly, I would know I'm going to run out of money here. And so do I want this to be a going concern or not? And I could have saved a bunch of that money in the bank and killed it earlier. Instead, I ran it out and I paid staff for a long time and I sort of got emotional about it. And second to that is that there have been businesses where, you know, when I was honest with myself, and sometimes I was honest and sometimes I wasn't, these were entrepreneurial hobbies. They were learning experiences. Mm-hmm. You know, I made a business around it and I broke even learning stuff. And those didn't need to be quit as fast. So I think it's a function of what we might call burn rate. You know, you should know that you're going to blow things up soon.
You know, that's a really logical way to think about it. And
I'm so logical.
Like you said, yeah, Like you said, though, like you got emotional in this one case and you went too far. But then you hear stories, right, of like Airbnb. I don't know if you've heard this story, but Brian Chesky at one point had like, you know, those big CD, back when there were CDs, those big holders that had, you know, like 100 or 500
right.
CDs or whatever. He apparently had a container of this full of maxed out credit cards before Airbnb, I guess, raised the round or, you know, hit it big. And he likes to tell this story, like, look how bad I was with my finances before Airbnb hit it big. And so you hear, and I think the danger is that the wise thing to do is to be more like Ledge and not get too emotional. Yeah, you should be more like Ledge and less like Brian Chesky.
But I think what you're saying is a great point because there's a reset as well. I mean, just because you don't have to throw the towel in completely, maybe it's not quite that business's time. There's so many environmental factors that happen as well, I think, that just because, I don't really know what I'm trying to say here. I mean, I know because if we're going along but the realm of money, I get it. If the money dries up, then it's done and it's done. But that doesn't mean the idea is dead.
There's different approaches to that
that's
idea.
right, that's right.
Yeah.
If the money runs out, is it done? Or can you find more money?
Well,
or can you do it a different way? Or
yeah,
is that the pivot?
What's quit? Is that
what
pivot?
Is quit?
You know, is it fail? You know, is it like, I mean, you know, in my case, it was like literally like I need to put a bullet in this, and I lost all my money.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lose more of all my money if I keep doing it. But you know, some of those not so bad. It's not like I don't take like all the skills and knowledge and things I learned in that business got me where I am now. So that's a good investment-ish. You know, I could have done it cheaper.
But you're someone who's committed to entrepreneurship. Now, take someone who's decided, look, I'm going to throw in the corporate towel and come across and start.
Yes.
That's a little bit different.
And it goes to that, like, I'm an entrepreneur no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to do this indefinitely. I will
Find your feet.
Figure out a way to live on my own wits.
Right.
And I think if you're a hobbyist, you know, you ought to quit pretty fast and go back and get a job.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is, I mean, the vast majority of people who take off on their entrepreneurial journey, they come from something else that's probably far more secure. So you have to kind of get the gut for entrepreneurship too. And just
quickly.
because, that's exactly right. And I think that perhaps your quitting point, Ledge, your point of giving up might be different to someone else's because they might not have the stomach to quite go through those things that become, you get used to it.
Well, do you have a plan B too?
Yeah.
You know, like I blew up my company and then like the next Monday I had a consulting gig.
Right.
And you need to know that you have that to protect that variability.
But we're kind of talking about two different things, right? So when do you quit your company, which is not the same thing as quitting your entrepreneurial journey? And when do you quit being an entrepreneur? Or is getting a job always quitting? I mean, we talked about that a couple episodes ago. Sorry, I'm not going to check that email.
Something important just happened.
Yeah. You'll see her just like this.
Please
the whole
silence
time.
your cell phone.
I know, I'm trying really hard not to answer
Give
that
her
email
the
now.
cell phone. Yeah.
So I had this kind of come to Jesus, as we like to say in the South, last week myself, where gigs weren't coming in as quickly as I thought they should, because I think they should come in right away.
Right.
And it should be closed, and I should be working, and you should be paying me now.
How's that work out?
Yeah, it doesn't. But my point is that I was discussing getting a job, and I was looking into it. I wouldn't see that as quitting, because that would just be a part of a learning process and a part of a path to something greater. But thankfully, the next day a gig came in, and so I didn't have to.
And isn't it always the way? I
Isn't
but
that
I
always
think
the
that
way?
that is what I'm talking about, in the sense that you've got the gut for it. I mean, and there would be other people that would have jumped ship a lot sooner than that point, and look what happens, you can turn it around. Now, that doesn't happen every time. We all know that.
Well, I coach a
doesn't
lot of
happen
people
every
who are like these sort of, freelance devs or freelance web developers, and they want to come and be a full-time consultant and leave their job. And then, well, if I could just book, 30 hours a week billable, I'd be totally fine. I'm going, that's highly
that's a lot.
unlikely, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to do that much BD. It's probably going to take, that's business development for anybody at home listening. But
Because Ledge is smarter than all of us and knows the lingo.
yeah, so I mean, that's hard, because I know, like, I legit spend, if I'm doing full-time consulting, I'm going to spend about 60% of my time doing business development, which means your 40% billable has got to be at a pretty high rate to pay for that. And that's where I counsel people a lot, is that, this is not a job, and if you're not okay with wild variability in your finances, in your personal finances, like you got to pay your mortgage and pay for your kids' school and all those things, then be very careful about that. It's okay, you don't need to go be a solopreneur. There's maybe another way to do it, but I mean, I even tell people, like, I built businesses sitting in somebody else's desk. I'm on payroll, I did my job, and sometimes at that computer I sit there in the office and run my business. And that's an okay way to do it. You could argue on that maybe that's not ethical, but I think if it's results-based and you do what you're supposed to do, and then you're using that asset, internet connection, then, that's all right.
All right, so let's circle back around, though. So I think we're all agreed, if you don't have the stomach for entrepreneurship, you're not going to last long anyway. But one particular idea, like, so the current business that you're working on right now, how do you know when it's time to abandon that idea or let it go?
For me, it was like I woke up in the morning and I didn't want to go to my own company. Like,
that's a good one.
Like 4 days in a row.
So
like,
that's way more emotional than logical.
Well,
and that can be the way, because there can
because
be
of the stress.
oftentimes
Like,
that
I was
you
working,
want to get out,
yeah.
even though it is
It's
successful
like
business.
60 hours a
Yeah.
week, and I'm like, this sucks. All I do is work to pay everybody else.
And it's awful, and I don't enjoy it.
And I talked to somebody yesterday who was in the same boat, and like, you know what, I'm downsizing, and I just want to work with myself. I don't even like helping my clients anymore because I have too many, and that's cool,
tough
So,
life.
but again, that's not, that's not a widget-based or subscription-based business, or sometimes, the SaaS type of thing. It's that's more like, I work mostly in service businesses, professional services, consulting, things like that, where it's somebody doing a service for money. So I don't know how to quit your SaaS business. I would guess that those are more metrics-based.
Yeah, right. There's a point where obviously the customer doesn't want your product. I mean, if you're not selling things, or
there's something that somebody wants, and we ran out of money before we pivoted to that.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But you ought to know that you're done. Like, at that point, don't max out your credit cards unless you're just so passionate and you're going to make it work, and God bless those people. But I would argue there's probably 99 of them to every one that's Airbnb.
And I think that's the point with any of those, like, big stories, right? It's like, Brian Chesky did it. It worked out for him. Great job. It's probably been done by 1,000 other entrepreneurs this year alone, and it's not working out for them.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, it's a bad bet. If you want to be in for life, betting it all is a big gamble, on any one idea.
Yeah.
It
And
could
I
fail.
think it's across the board, whether it's being an athlete, a businessman, a musician, whatever it might be. For every one of the success stories, like you say, there's so many failures. But those people, I mean, would have had just people peel off them as they went through this journey.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't just them who did that, and it's not usually everyone that ends up at that successful point. There's people who have been around that business at any one time who have said, you know what, this thing's crashing, I'm out.
I can't do this.
Right.
I can't do this anymore.
They do
And
peel
they've
off.
gone.
Yeah, that's right.
So they start peeling off, and as it gets more successful, then maybe people come around you. But the story would be so vastly different for that one person who tells us this successful story to all those people who have maybe even chipped in a little bit of cash along the way and had it burnt. All those things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I still get the finger to the ribs at Thanksgiving on that.
I mean, and
Oh, you raised from friends
My-
and
just as
family.
we
Triple
just as
F
we
loans,
move
friends,
towards-
family,
Oh,
fools.
man.
Yeah.
Just as we move towards the end of this episode, that's something that let's just quickly touch on. This is that as leaders of perhaps our businesses in that entrepreneurial realm, it's difficult sometimes too to encourage those employees around you when they see that there's maybe some pieces falling off the aircraft. Let's
Right.
put the parachute on and get
Right,
the hell
and-
out of here.
and-
But when you
Yeah.
kind of you believe in yourself, but to share that belief with those other people and you still have them paid and all those things and create a great environment in a workplace, that can be incredibly difficult when
And-
you need that structure so badly for it
and-
to succeed.
And especially in the earlier stages when your employees are probably as entrepreneurial as you are.
Yeah.
And so they see the bullshit, like,
Yeah.
right? They see what's really happening. And so when you try to act like everything's going to be okay
Mm.
and you try to sell that vision or sell that excitement, and you're not honest about what's going on, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you're the boss, so it
Yeah.
ultimately falls to you, not them, and so you have to manage it. But if you've hired well, your employees are smart and
You know what?
they can see what's going on.
And I had this situation where, like, what I learned from the experience I keep referencing back to was I had 8 people on payroll and they were practitioners. And what I learned from that was they were not of the entrepreneurial mindset often in order to tolerate that, look, in 60 days we're going to run out of money. And so that scared them, and that wasn't probably a good leadership move to be transparent. What you need is you want to have your entrepreneur cohorts on payroll so we all understand the stakes here. And the rest of that, I think those people need to be contractors so that you're not beholden to protecting them, because
Right.
Yeah.
I got too emotional about protecting those practitioner types because they simply couldn't operate like an entrepreneur. And I learned that I don't want to do that anymore. My payroll should be people who are entrepreneurs.
Great topic. I've loved it. Short and sweet, but
Yeah, that's a good one.
it's the good one for sure. When to get off the sinking ship? It's always a pretty interesting question. Or
How long to bail?
when to actually
How long do you rearrange furniture?
put your own
Right.
hole in the hull and let it just sink, is more importantly. But I guess entrepreneurial spirit, have the guts for it, and keep on keeping
God
on.
bless you.
Yeah.
God bless you.
God bless. God bless you.
Bless your heart.
Bless,
Bless
your
your
heart.
heart.
Oh, bless your
The
heart.
Southern Belle down here. But hey guys, we've loved having you join Serious Startups, and don't forget that you can follow us at Serious Startups and check out all the stuff at Talkopolis as well. But you can also follow us, all of us, on Twitter, and we're going to start being so much more pronounced on LinkedIn, aren't we, guys?
Yes, yep.
Yes.
Yep, we're
So
on there. So follow us on LinkedIn.
Follow us
too.
on LinkedIn as well.
Absolutely.
But we will see you next time on Serious Startups.